And just like that, we've got another move. And more importantly, I had to move my wife back to the couch again because these trades keep happening at like 11 at night. I promise I'm not a misogynist. But anyway, Brandon Ingram is on the move. There's not many dominoes left to fall. It feels like maybe we'll have a quieter trade deadline, I say cautiously, right? But Brandon Ingram on his way to Toronto. We've been hearing for the past hour, basically, that this was going to happen. They were getting really close to it. So here we go. Here's the deal. The Toronto Raptors are sending Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, 1 first-round pick and 1 second-round pick. Okay. Honestly, initial reaction, a little bit confused. In full transparency, a little bit confused. Not on the part of New Orleans. I think it was fair to say that, like, hey, this team just like isn't really working right now, and we never got to see this team really, it feels like. And I think that's something that we have to mourn a little bit with this, is that this whole like Zion and Brandon Ingram with CJ McCollum thing, and you threw DeJounte Murray into it. You've had other big players come on through. You've developed the Jose Alvarados, the Trey Murphys, the Herb Joneses of the world, right? And you could never get all of them on the basketball court together, and that's really, really unfortunate that they're just so injured. They're just all always injured in there. I don't know. It must be all the gumbo down there that they just can't do it, right? They just haven't been able to really get it going. And so now it's over. But he's on his way to Toronto, and that's where I get a little bit confused. Why exactly? And I was talking about this with the people on the Discord. Go join the Discord if you haven't already. Link is in the description of the video. You should go on there. We are talking basketball like it's nobody's business on there all the time. So it's incredibly active, like all day. It feels like they even have a little 2K league going on in there. Kind of cool. But it's interesting to me, right? This feels like Toronto buying low on something, right? Brandon Ingram is a good basketball player at the end of the day, a very good basketball player. This guy's a borderline all-star pretty much every season, and he's had a good season this year. We're looking at 22 points per game right now. That's awesome, right? Almost 5.5 assists, a little over 5.5 rebounds. Turnover is a little bit high right now, but you know, this lineup has been crazy this year, and I can't necessarily blame him for it. Shooting above league average from 3. Field goal percentage is honestly pretty good considering the difficulty of shots he takes all the time. The free throw percentage is excellent. You'd maybe like to see more free throw attempts, but you know, he's one of those guys that really does settle for the midi a little bit more. And so yeah, you're getting a good basketball player, and we're going to keep checking for updates on things, and we'll talk about some other things towards the end of this video, updates to other deals and such. But you're giving up Bruce Brown, who wasn't going to be on the team past the season anyway, right? That's expiring salary and everything. And honestly, we should open up Fanspo and drop the trade into there so we can see all the actual like financial implications and everything. Shout out Fanspo, man, for being updated and everything. Have they already moved Jimmy Butler on here? Shout out Fanspo, man. Y'all are on your game right now. That's good for you guys. Good for you guys. So let's pull up the Toronto Raptors. We've got a really interesting trade between two not very good teams right now. So, oh yeah, this will be interesting too. Is Brandon Ingram going to get an extension out of this? Like, is there an extension in place or something like that? How are they going to do things? Because I presume this is not going to be a rental deal. I'm sure they've talked to him about like, hey, are you going to re-sign with us? He's like, yes, I will. I will re-sign with you guys. So anyway, Bruce Brown moving over. Salary that you didn't need anyway. A guy that wasn't going to be on the team past this year anyway. Valuable player to certain teams. So he's probably just going to fall off the books, though, in all honesty. And then he can go sign somewhere else after this. Kelly Olynyk. Experiment hasn't really worked with Kelly Olynyk. I found the Kelly Olynyk trade with the Jazz last year to be extremely confusing. I didn't understand why they wanted Ochai and Kelly Olynyk, and Ochai been better than I expected. I'm still not completely sold on his game necessarily. I think he might be more so the beneficiary of a not as good roster right now. And then what was the other part of it is just the first round pick, right? So that's really it. No Chris Boucher involved in it, and that doesn't necessarily surprise me. You don't need to with this. So we see the trade. That's what it is right now. Toronto gets a little bit more money on the books. The Pelicans save a little bit of money. I wonder if Bruce Brown gets bought out, right? Because he makes a pretty good chunk of money, and I can't imagine he wants to sit on like a last place team right now, right? And if Bruce Brown hits the buyout market is going to be all over that guy. What are the odds we can get him back in Denver? That would be so sick. Like he'd instantly become like #1 buyout candidate, right? I'd have to imagine. Kelly Olynyk, they get another center for the team, right? They just moved Daniel Tice today for nothing. And honestly, this is cool. Like having a stretch big, we haven't really gotten to see that yet around Zion Williamson. So let's experiment with it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if this is like logically something that we should be doing for this team going forward, presuming you're holding on to Zion and everything, which I don't know why you really wouldn't. So yeah, no, I'm curious to see that from the Pelicans' perspective at the end of the day. But the Raptors, let's think about this from the Raptors' perspective for a second, right? This is not a good basketball team, and they just bought this player for a first and a second round pick, basically, right? And for two guys that you just didn't really need on the team. That's good, right? That makes a lot of sense at the end of the day. This is a good basketball player. You now have basically a core of Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and I'm going to presume Jakob Poeltl's still going to be on the team. I don't really see the point in moving him personally, so I'm going to presume that he's still on the roster, but hey, we still have another like 24 hours or so to see what's going to actually happen with all of this. But you've got a really interesting group of players, right? I know a lot of us have theorized like, hey, let's say Toronto gets one of the top like 3 picks or something like that, because they very well could. What if they got a Cooper Flagg or an Ace Bailey to add to this already like really interesting group of like really lengthy athletic dudes that can handle the rock a little bit? Now you got Brandon Ingram on the team as well. Now, do I have immediate like spacing concerns and things like that about like, okay, we really like some of the point guard Scotty stuff that we're seeing at times. Quickly can play off the ball, which is nice. Barrett doesn't need the ball at all times, but like Brandon Ingram tends to like to have the ball quite a bit. And you know, he's an effective player at the end of the day, but what does Scotty do without that? I mean, he's been on teams before where he's not the primary ball handler and he's played well. So I'm kind of curious like what the long-term goal is here for Toronto, because I'm not going to lie, there's a small part of me that's like, we're kind of building the ultimate like mediocre team, right? Like, doesn't it kind of feel like that? Like, there's not like huge potential in any of these people, but like good potential in all of these people. So that's where I kind of go like, okay, what's the pro con of this? But again, at the end of the day, depending on like what this pick is and everything, and you're hoping to be more competitive in this time, because I'm presuming they didn't trade their 2025 first round pick, right, or something like that, or it's extremely heavily protected, in which then it's awesome, right? This is an awesome trade. You basically got Brandon Ingram for like a second rounder or something like that, but I can't imagine that's what New Orleans wanted. I have to imagine this first round pick is something they can actually obtain, just because like Bruce Brown's not going to be of much use to them, and Kelly Olynyk is, you know, Kelly Olynyk at the end of the day. So I'm just curious about this, right? I want to see Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram play together. Like, the coach in me, like, I start thinking of X's and O's, right, and what I'm going to actually run with these two, and I go, okay, yeah, no, I could see this, I could see this, I could see this, just because you've got a lot of really dynamic players on the court at any given time. So I'm going to be very curious to see what they do with them at the end of the day, but this team also should probably still be focused on tanking a little bit, right? Because that should probably be the point. I know that's not a thing that Masai likes to typically do, but like, you don't want to miss out on Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper. I'll even throw VJ Edgecombe into this, because I think any of those guys could be the future franchise player for this team. So I don't know, just my thoughts on that at the end of the day, but I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this move. Like, how many more dominoes do we really have to fall at this point? Like, is Vucevic kind of it? Am I missing anybody else? I know people have thrown Trae Young out a little bit. Like, I know there's been some Paul George talk. I'm going to guess the Nets are holding on to Cam Johnson at this point. It feels like the Grizzlies are going to walk away with nothing at the deadline, and that feels a little bit absurd. If we can talk about some of the other moves that happened recently, we found out there's a little bit more on this Wizards Bucks trade, the Chris Middleton, Kyle Kuzma one from earlier. Basically, the Bucks are sending DeLon Wright and some cash to the Knicks for Jericho Sims. I think this is a nice pickup for Milwaukee. I can't imagine DeLon Wright stays on the Knicks roster. They just have too many other guards on the team, and he's just not necessary. They're basically just getting paid to like cut somebody for free, which totally makes sense. I totally understand that. And the Knicks are a first apron team, right? So they should be able to play in the buyout market, I presume, right? I'm going to pull up the Knicks really quick just so I can kind of confirm that on here. Yeah, so they haven't, oh, they're really close though. They're really close. So after this, that'll give them a little bit more space, and they should be able to play in the buyout market. So that's cool. That's cool. Did they already move Jericho Sims off? Oh yeah, look at that. Wow. Okay, no, we're accurate. Shout out you guys. Shout out you guys at Fanspo. Y'all are on your shit today. I appreciate it. But I think this is a good pickup for the Bucks. It's a lob threat for them. It's not something that they really had before at the center position. I think Knicks fans will be the first to say they didn't really enjoy Jericho Sims a ton. And I'm not gonna lie, I've watched some of his games a little bit more closely recently, and there were some times I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, catch the basketball. Like you're all the way up at your chin's at the rim and you just can't catch the basketball. But is what it is. I think it gives them a different look, a little bit of big man depth. You didn't really have to give up anything to get it. Cool. I like that at the end of the day. I think that's a cool move to kind of round out some of the other things that we saw today, like the Wiggins-Butler thing. It seems like Kyle Anderson is going to stick around. Dennis Schroeder's on his way to Utah. It'd be weird, in my opinion, if they held on to him and he didn't become a buyout candidate. He would also become an extremely valuable buyout person, and I was thinking we were going to have kind of a dead buyout period, but if we could have a Bruce Brown and a Dennis Schroeder out there, those are big-time pickups, and it sounds like PJ Tucker's also on his way to the Heat. Cool. He's a Heat culture guy. That makes a lot of sense. And then my Chicago Bulls are re-signing Lonzo Ball to a 2-year, $20 million extension. From what I've heard, I talked to some buddies that I know that are pretty close to this kind of stuff. They said they had at least a couple teams interested in him, but they kind of just decided to keep him at the end of the day. They did say, though, that the $20 million contract he has are making things a little bit complicated. This is a really team-friendly deal, and Lonzo's been awesome recently. Like, he's personally one of my favorite players in the NBA, and this was before he got to the Bulls. I just really liked his game at the end of the day. I modeled a lot of my game and my play style off of like Rajon Rondo and guys that just kind of saw the game better than everyone else, and that's kind of how I saw Lonzo as well, and so I've really enjoyed having him on the Bulls, and watching him play has been a really fun thing for me. Honestly, I love having him and Giddey on the court together. I think it's really fun basketball that gets played then. So I'm fine with this, and I think that they're going to be able to, if they want to, move him next year or something like that. Once he's increased his value even more, he's even more tradable, you can probably get a higher value pick for him, and we actually had some people talking about that in the Discord as well, so shout out you smarties out there in the Discord. Very, very cool. But no, shout out Lonzo Ball. I'm going to refresh this one more time to see if there's any other details that are coming out about this. Drew Smith suffered a season-ending Achilles injury. What? Wait, why did it go all the way down here? Oh no, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know why it went all the way down, but anyway, that's it about Brandon Ingram. I guess I appreciate you guys for choosing my channel to get some of your news on this stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. I'll be on all day tomorrow to talk about trades that happen, so I'm excited. Let's just not do any more Lucas stuff. All right, let's just chill a little bit, NBA, okay? I don't need to see any more generational talents get traded. If I wake up tomorrow and, like, I don't know, Steph Curry's on a different team or something like that, I think I'm just gonna, yeah. So, also, Hawks fans, I know you guys were in the running. Let me know if you guys are actually disappointed about this. I thought that was a weird target for you guys as well, and I was gonna have a whole rant prepared for that one. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always, and we'll continue the coverage tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye.